Mutants made their debut in the Onslaught block way back in the early 2000s. Then it took just last year to make them good again with the Mothman. Now, I think they got even better in Final Fantasy with Jenova, Ancient Calamity. Jenova may not be a mutant, she may be an alien, but she loves some mutants because at the beginning of combat on your turn, you get to put some counters on a creature equal to Jenova's power and it becomes a mutant. Whenever a mutant you control dies, you get to draw cards equal to its power. I'm going to touch on 3 points in this deck. The main one is counter synergies and how to make our creatures huge, how do we sacrifice them when we need those cards, and the mutants we're going to run. So I'm done stalling, so let's get right into it and go over those counter synergies. Our first piece of counter tech is Bristly Bill Spinesower. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2 with a landfall ability that whenever a land ETBs, you get to put a counter on a creature, and then we can double those counters to make a huge threat. Champion of Lambholt gives us a good way to get some creatures through to deal some combat damage because for 3 mana you get a 1/1 and creatures with power less than its can't block your creatures. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you get to put a 1/1 counter on Champion of Lambholt. Now it's time to introduce everybody's favorite minigame in a commander game. That's the Monarch. So with Court of Garenbrig, it's a 3 mana enchantment, and then it makes you the Monarch, and at the beginning of your upkeep you can distribute 2 counters, and if you're the Monarch, you double the counters on each creature you control. Modern Horizons 3 gave us a true gem in the forms of Fangs of Colonia. For 2 mana, you get to put a 1/1 counter on a creature, then you double the number of counters on that creature, but you can overload this spell and make your board an overwhelming force. I know I alluded to the Onslaught block earlier, and we've got a card from it that really synergizes with the deck. That's Forgotten Ancient. It's a 4 mana, 0/3 elemental, and whenever a player casts a spell, this thing gets a 1/1 counter, and during our upkeep we can move those counters any way we want to any number of creatures. Great news, I'm finally mentioning a black card, you Liliana Vest lovers. That's Necropolis Regent. It's a 6 mana, 6/5 with flying. Whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we get to put that many 1/1 counters on it. Revitalizing Repass gives us some flexibility. This 1 mana instant lets us put a counter on a creature, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. So we'll protect our biggest piece on the board, and on top of that, if we don't need it, it's just a land. Scythecat Cub makes Bristly Bill look like a joke. For the same mana cost, same power and toughness, and the same landfall ability, you get the counter when a land enters, but if it happens twice in a turn, you double the counters instead. A little more value. Season of Gathering does it all. It's a 6 mana sorcery, but it can make our board absolutely huge and cover them with counters, or it can remove artifacts and enchantments, or we can draw a ton of cards. We can do it all with this badass card. You may be thinking, this deck's probably going to fill the graveyard, and you thought right, but let me do the thinking for you with Varol's the Scar-Striped. This 3 mana legendary creature's going to give every creature in our graveyard scavenged, so we can turn all of our former threats into counters for our new threats. Have you always wanted to protect your creatures from damage? So let's get out of Fantasyland and make it a reality with Vigor. For 6 mana, you get a 6/6 that prevents damage to creatures and makes them huge in the form of counters equal to the damage prevented. Well Rested's another standout in this build. It's a 2 mana enchantment that makes a creature get counters whenever it becomes untapped and gains you life and draws you a card. It literally does about everything. Now that we've went through all the counter synergies, let's get into the ways to put our mutants into the graveyard when we want to get some cards. Up first is a true classic, Ashnod's Altar. This 3 mana artifact lets you sacrifice creatures that add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. If you want to live in a dream world, run Birthing Pod. This artifact allows you to sacrifice a creature and search your library for the best creature that's 1 mana value higher and put it straight into play to replace that body you just lost. Deadly Dispute gives us another way to get a few additional cards on top of the effect that Jenova gives us. It just lets you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, then draw 2 cards, then create a treasure for a little bit of a mana burst. Evolutionary Leap is another sacrifice outlet that lets us replace that body we just lost. For 1 green mana, you sack a creature, then you reveal cards from the top of your library to reveal another creature card, and you put it right into your hand. Personally, I think Greater Good's a must-run in any green deck that's creature-focused. It allows you to sacrifice a creature, then you draw cards equal to its power. You do have to discard 3 cards, but that's not too big of a downside when you're going to draw a million cards off of 1 mutant. Did you say you wanted more cards? Well, I've got you in the form of Life's Legacy. This sorcery lets you sack a creature, then you draw cards equal to its power, and once again, that will double up those mutant triggers. In the same vein, we run Momentous Fall. It may cost a little more mana, but it is instant speed. It allows us to draw all those cards, and it does give us a little bit of a life swing too. Now we're back with one of the best sacrifice outlets ever printed, Phyrexian Altar. It lets us sacrifice a creature and add 1 mana of any color, so we can keep sacking creatures, making mana, and playing more creatures. It's time for some more synergy with Skyclave's Shadow Cat. This little kitty cat, it lets you sacrifice creatures to put counters on it, and then whenever a creature you control with a counter on it dies, you draw a card. I hope you're like me and you're willing to sacrifice your entire board just for card advantage, even though it may not win you the game. That's where Smothering Abomination comes in. This 4-mana Eldrazi makes us sacrifice creatures or upkeep, and whenever we sack a creature, we draw a card. Village Rites is a true throwback. It's a 1-mana instant that lets us sack one of our creatures to draw 2 cards, more sack creatures, more fun. Our last piece of sacrifice tech is Yawgmoth Thran Physician. This 4-mana 2/4 lets us pay 1 life, sack another creature, make another creature smaller, and draw a card. Then you can proliferate to remove threats from the board. Now it's time to get into what we all came here for, the mutants we play in this build. Our first mutant menace is Aberrant. This Tyrannid mutant has Ravenous, so if it has 5 or more counters, you get to draw a card, and when it deals combat damage, you get to destroy an artifact or an enchantment. I hope it's becoming clear that mutants love counters. We have Agent Frank Horrigan. He may cost 7 mana, but he's an 8/6 with trample, and he has indestructible as long as he attacked. And on top of that, when he ETBs or attacks, you proliferate twice. Alpha Deathclaw is a big beater with menace and trample, and it also is a removal spell, because when it becomes monstrous or ETBs, you get the destroyed target permanent. Of course, I had to throw some Onslaught block trash in here. This one's Elvish Aberration. It's a 6-mana 4/5, and it adds 3 green to your mana pool when you tap it, but what I like about it is you can force cycle it away to fix your mana. We even have some mutants that are going to help us get some of our mutants back in the form of Elvish Soul Tiller, because when it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, we choose a creature type, we're choosing mutants, and we shuffle all of our mutants back into our deck. Evolution Witness is God tier in our deck. It's an Elf Shaman mutant for 3 mana, and when it gets counters placed onto it, we get to return a permanent card from our graveyard to our hand. Feral Ghoul turns all of our sacrificed mutants into more counters upon itself, so when it gets sacrificed, we get even more cards. Hancock Ghoulish Mare is an overrun effect for our team. All of our mutants get huge from the number of counters on Hancock, and it does have Undying. Lily Bowen, Raging Grandma, is a huge mutant threat. When it ETBs, it comes in with 2 counters, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you double the number of counters on it, and if it has 16 or more counters, you gain life and remove all but 1 counter. We even have some mutants that are board wipes like Rampaging Yaogwai. This guy comes in with a ton of counters, and then we can destroy any number of artifacts or enchantments. Renegade Crassus is a must-have in any counters deck. It has Evolve, so when a bigger creature comes in, it gets bigger, and when it gets bigger, each other creature with a counter on it gets a counter. We can really multiply our mutant army with creatures like Screeching Scorch Beast. It's a 6-mana 5/5 flyer with menace, and when it attacks, players get rad counters. We don't really care about that, and whenever one or more non-land cards are milled, we get to create some 2/2 zombie mutants. Speaking of our growing mutant board, there's Watchful Radstag. This creature does have Evolve, and whenever it evolves, we create a token of it so we can keep making these elk mutants and have a huge board. Our final mutant is Young Deathclaws. It's a 4-mana 4/2 with menace, and it gives all of our creature cards scavenge. So just like Varol's, this comes in handy. That about wraps it up. You can see Jenova's an interesting commander, and it seems like a lot of fun. If there are any cards that you would add, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see the full deck list, I've got it on Moxfield, link in the description. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.